Hello, and welcome back to this series on ego development theory. Today we are going to tackle one more stage. Last time we spoke about the diplomat, which in the paper is called the group-centric stage. And this time we're going to tackle a more differentiation type of stage. What is that? Well, in the introduction video, which I will link right there, you will find all the basic principles of this model. I think it's important to watch it before diving into each stage so that you can understand how it works. So differentiation basically means that one's perspective is differentiated from the group, while embeddedness means the perspective is embedded in the group. And this differs from one stage to the next. It moves from differentiation to embeddedness, back to differentiation, back to embeddedness. It swings, it's like a pendulum of sorts. So this stage is the one that is called the skill-centric stage, or it was called previously the expert stage. And it is, like I've mentioned, a stage of differentiation where one person feels a sense of uniqueness and a sense of specialness to themselves and tries to differentiate themselves from family, for example, while making sure that they're seen as separate persons compared to their parents or their siblings or even other people that do the same thing that they do. They want to become, they want to be seen as special, as individuals in their own right. They want to be noticed. They want to be respected for the things that they know and the things that they do. So they become interested in behaviors that actually can help them become more successful and get noticed by other people and get this need that they have of being special, being unique. As you can probably guess, this sounds like it happens probably in the teen years and adolescence, maybe even later. As we've discussed in the introduction, there's not really a specific age that is matched to a stage. One can spend from around 5 years to actually being stuck in one of these stages for the rest of their lives, depending on different factors, which I've discussed in the introduction. So this stage is not really tied to adolescence, but is when it happens mostly when people leave their familiar environments behind. So when someone goes to study abroad or they go to study to a different town for high school or for university, or they get a job, for example, which means leaving their familiar school environment or their colleagues or their friends and going off into a new environment where they need to adapt and where, for example, their skills and their knowledge is what matters. Now, in this stage, people want to assert their own needs, which before in the group-centric stage was something that they really suppressed just to be part of the group. Now they really say what they want in order to get ahead. They leave behind the values that their family or the environments that they were part of, the groups that they were part of, kind of created. And this is seen by the groups as something puzzling, sometimes hurtful, or worst cases it's seen as betrayal by these individuals. However, the individuals, see this former self as a constraint, as crutches towards their growth and towards their individuality. So it's kind of like a fake identity that uh, in the way that this former self is seen. They also see others as unique persons with their own unique differences, and sometimes they start to become a little bit conscious of the self, and the self-reflection is something that is actually uh, emerging at this stage, where they can actually look at themselves and do so objectively, but it is more focused, this reflection, on uh, external factors and on other people, such as comparing themselves to others, comparing their own skills, their own knowledge, their own talents to other people's, so that they can compare it and see who is better, basically. Their understanding of psychology is also a little bit more nuanced. They understand, because of their of the differences that they see in themselves and in other people, they start to understand the fact that there are traits, psychology, personality traits, for example, and the moods that are more stable around some people. They can also see themselves, like I said, they can see themselves subjectively, which means that they can actually, one can see where they would want to be and take steps into changing themselves so they can reach that objective. This individualistic kind of stage is very much praised in a nowadays in the West, as it is a stage where people are seen as being able to stand up for themselves and to find their own place in the world and stand on their own 2 feet. Leaving the home, going and finding a job is also very much praised and seen as a big step in one's life. Compared to the previous stage, to the group-centric stage, where, as we've said, you can watch the video later, these group-centric individuals, they wouldn't take initiative unless someone actually told them to. Well, the individuals at this stage, they're actually very, very prone to have initiative and to move things. They're movers, they're initiators. They want to get things done and to get things moving. And they like to assert this newfound personhood that they have. They like to battle out with knowledge and to battle with ideas and to impose their views on others, basically. They're very self-assured in what they know and in what they can do, but other people can see them as argumentative and a little bit bullheaded in that way. They are a little rough around the edges. They don't hold back on their opinions, and if you are wrong, they will outright tell you, and very with very specific detailed reasons. Concerning language, their language also becomes a little bit more evolved than it was in the last stage. They can differentiate more in nuances of attributes. For example, they can see people as being, rather than, oh, he's sad, he's happy, now they can understand more nuances. Oh, he's curious, he's lonely, perhaps she is jealous, he is more serious, she is more passionate. They can see things as masculine and feminine. They can understand concepts, more advanced concepts like values, honesty, patience, punctuality. How do those fit into what I want to become and what basically is good for myself, to bring myself forward and to be successful. So they compare these sort of values with others. They also start using qualifying statements. For example, instead of saying, we will overcome this hurdle, or I will overcome this hurdle or this obstacle, uh, it becomes, my goal is to do this, my goal is to come to pass this obstacle or to get over this hurdle so that that can continue. Also, they start using conditionals, if, then, right? These sort of statements, and explanations. So they start explaining things in a much more detailed fashion than the previous stage. They also start using references on time, like sometimes, often I do this, sometimes I do that, rather than just the black and white, never, always, that was present in the group-centric stage. At this stage, they see so many possibilities. They have a very, because of their knowledge and because of their newfound uh, capabilities of abstraction in their mind, they begin to see so many possibilities of everything, of solving problems, of paths to take in their life, basically. But what is lacking is a way to prioritize these. So they do not know to do the right thing, but they know how to do things right. They don't question the approach. They don't really look through other options. If they found one option, they will stick to it. This sort of my way is the best way kind of mentality is what they have. And this makes it, because knowing a lot, they're experts, right? In their field, they, this knowledge and this the actions that they've taken, they become quite part of their identity. So when someone criticizes anything about what they do, they're very sensitive to negative feedback, for example. And this criticism sort of becomes a criticism of the whole person. So they take very much offense to anything negative that can be said about them, or about what they did, or about what they know if they're wrong, for example. They have a bit of a compulsive nature, and they're very much perfectionists in their field. They want to be at the top. Good enough is definitely not good enough for a person at this stage. They want to be the best. And even though they are, like I said, they're sensitive to negative feedback, they're very swift to deliver it to others. And they see every fault and every shortcomings, inadequacies, everything that they find, everything is basically what others do is what makes their life difficult. And it is a way of establishing superiority in one way in their heads. They feel superior to other people, and sometimes they can use this criticism even as a form of intellectual aggression. They are very, like I said, a little bit bullheaded and a little bit resistant to change because of how much that they know. All the knowledge that they have is just crystallized there, right? And no one can tell them something that they don't know, or something that they don't know better than what is being said. They do have a vast library of knowledge, usually. They are familiar with the most cutting edge products or procedures in their field of expertise, which makes them quite, like I said, experts, right, in their field. Considering the fact that this stage is a differentiation stage, they do still need a little bit of approval from other people to be seen as unique, to be seen as someone with specialness, with uniqueness. Where do they get this sort of need met. Groups, of course. Now, what sort of groups do you think can match this sort of need at this stage? Professional groups. So they join professional groups, and this is where they get their need of approval. And they come forward with a lot of degrees, with authority in the field, with manuals, with courses, with everything that can make them be established as someone of and the fact that their approach is reliable and good. They feel superior to the group, and they have this sort of attitude where they don't really want to be part of the group. They're just there for their need of approval. So they stand at the edge of the group. In work relationships, they're quite difficult to work with because of the sort of previous traits that I've spoken about. And usually they are overworked because of their perfectionism and wanting to do everything just right takes a lot of time, and they're overburdened by the workload that they have usually. They have a very, very deep focus on details, which is really good, makes them be the sort of expert in the field, this professional that can do the work very well. It's just the approach is do what I do and you'll be fine. As managers, that doesn't really work because they don't see the big picture. They don't see, for example, perspectives of other people, so of other departments or other companies or other. So that makes it a little bit difficult for them to handle managerial positions. Delegating is also quite hard because they're so good at what they do. They delegate the task and then they feel the need to take it back when they see that the progress is not as well as they imagine it should be if they would have made it, right? So what they do is they evaluate other people based on their own standards and their own capabilities. So if they could do it in a certain way in a certain time, if the people that they delegate to don't do it like that, for them it's seen as failure because you didn't do it on time. So it's not very objective in that sort of sense. Of course, they like to blame others. They have very high standards for, like I said, because they have so much knowledge and they have experience basically in the field. They have high standards, even morally speaking. They have a strong sense of what should be done. They're very good at creating processes, at optimizing for efficiency, for example, and on building things that are perfect, right? They strive for that perfection. If things do not work, of course, they blame the tools, other people, the incompetence of others, the fact that it wasn't organized properly by management or something like that. And if somehow the shoulds and their principles are not met in any way, they of course find excuses for them. The mind starts to intellectualize and to rationalize and find reasons which are compelling why they didn't perform according to those principles that they have. Shame and guilt and other negative emotions are rationalized away and explained very simply, which means that at this stage, persons are rarely lost for words and for an explanation for their actions. So defenses here are ultra rational. Their superiority is not hidden. They bring it forward with hostile sense of humor, with poking at others, trying to come forward as them being the best. Ridiculing others is common sport at this stage, which is, I have to say, not very pleasant. Also, they like to have the last word. Whenever someone adds, for example, there's a professional discussion or a meeting, someone adds an idea, yes, maybe we can do this, maybe we can do that, they will always be the one that says yes, and on top of that, we can do this and this other thing. So they will always want to have the upper hand. They will always want to be the person that adds just a little bit more. And if, of course, there are arguments that are against their own position, they will discredit those by dismissing them, by even by belittling the people that bring them forward. As adults, they do fulfill their responsibilities and their duties. They're very diligent. They come up with ideas. They come up with ways to improve on processes and to optimize for efficiency. They have considerable contributions in today's society. They have a clear-minded, very pragmatic way of approaching things. For example, when they consult someone, right? When they try to give advice, they ask a lot of questions to gather the facts. They want to know causes. What caused this? What caused that? But because of their own, like I said, they're a little bit blunt, and this comes off as blaming or as trying to find criticism in other people. Why did you do that? Why did you do this? Why did you do the other thing? Which can, like I said, it's seen as a little bit rough around the edges. And they have this if I can, you can sort of mentality as well related to things, which shows a lack of awareness of the fact that people are different and not everyone can do the same thing. But for them, if they can do it, so can you. Their biggest fear is losing their specialness. This individuality and this sense of uniqueness that they have, that they found in this stage, is something that they don't want to give up. They don't want to be pulled back into the group-centric stage where they become just part of the mass of people. So they don't show any weakness or vulnerabilities. They bring this a strong front of knowledge and action to show that indeed they deserve to be there, and they never admit to any, even any ignorance, right? If they don't know about something, they won't say that they don't know, because that is shown as weakness. In this category, there's a lot of technocrats, bureaucrats, people that work for the government, for example, and public finances, or even policemen and firemen and hospital personnel can fall into this category. Highly educated specialists like engineers, scientists, software developers, data analysts, and people that work in online. You can probably think about other examples, and if you do, please let me know in the comments if you think about if you have any other good other examples. I think this includes anyone who is an expert in their field and has this sort of mentality that we've spoken about earlier. So think back on your life, and have you ever been at this stage? Can you look back and understand how you were acting and maybe get a little bit of an insight on why you were doing the things you were doing when you were doing them? Hopefully this short presentation really helped you understand and know more about the model, about the ego development theory model. If you've liked this video, like it, do that like button, yeah, tap it right there. If you found anything interesting, share it with anyone who you would think would find it interesting as well. And comment down below. Let me know if, for example, you can think of a good example for anyone at this stage, what sort of profession they would have. Next, we will tackle the next stage, the stage number 4 in this model, which I think will be the last stage of the conventional stages. So stay tuned for that. Thanks a lot for watching. All the best.